Penguin Random House Australia Audio proudly presents Ugly, written by Philip Mawson, Paul Fenech, and Jordan King-Lacroix. Narrated by Frazer with Philip Mawson, Paul Fenech, and Jordan King-Lacroix. All rights reserved.
To my wife Lynn and Leon Moon, David Cripps, Mick Evans, Rick Pont, Paul Brooks and the Gypsy Jokers, Phil Ugly Mawson.
To all the Australian soldiers who served in Vietnam, lest we forget. Paulie Fenech.
To ANY and the WNHC. Without them, this book would not have been possible. Jordan King-Lacroix.
My name is Paulie Fenech. You might know me from cult Australian TV and cinema comedies like Fat Pizza and Housos, which I created, directed and performed in. Around 2010, we were casting the first season of Housos, and we needed people to fill out the ranks of a fictional bikie gang called the Sunnyvale Hunters MC. That's where I first met Phil Ugly Mawson. Ugly was introduced to me by Greg King. At the time, both were members of a real-life outlaw motorcycle club called the Gypsy Jokers. When they both walked into our casting office, I noticed a few things about Ugly straight away. The first was obvious. He had a strange tattoo that looked like barbed wire above his left eye. That wasn't something I'd seen before. Then I noticed his wild blue eyes. When Ugly looks at you, he has a cheeky expression. I could tell right away there was a bright fire inside him. Eyes never lie. We talked briefly. Ugly's a man of few words. In the end, he looked the part, and he was cast as one of the hunters. In all honesty, I was a little intimidated at the start. I knew that Greg and Ugly had been in jail together. I later found out Ugly was a Vietnam veteran, that he had founded the Gypsy Jokers motorcycle club in New South Wales, and that he was the great-grandson of the famous Arctic explorer Sir Douglas Mawson. From that early meeting, I had no idea that over the next 10 years, he would trust me with his life story and we would become good friends. Ugly is like a real-life Clint Eastwood or Charles Bronson. Even in his 70s, he'll still stand up to any enemy, 2 fists raised, ready to fight for himself and the people he cares about. Some might consider him a very bad man, given the violent details of his life. But I see him differently. I see a code of honour, an honesty and a toughness that I've never known in anyone else before. Why did we become mates? We share a wicked sense of humour. We love motorbikes and boxing. We have a healthy contempt of corrupt authority. We also have military experience. Every year we catch up after marching on Anzac Day. We always get very drunk, and I'm always very honoured to be allowed to drink with Ugly's old war buddies from Vietnam. He and another friend of his, Rick Pont, had been trying to turn his life story into a TV series. Unfortunately, it was not to be. After many letdowns from various film production companies, I offered to try and turn it into a book. That was also not to be. I tried writing the story myself many times, but realised I just wasn't doing the story justice. So I decided to team up with a great young writer, Jordan King-Lacroix. Jordan's done an excellent job of telling Ugly's story in Ugly's own voice. I'm pleased that an account of this man's wild life has been finally shared. I'd like to thank Ugly for his trust and friendship. He's a great bloke and probably the toughest hard cunt I've ever met. I would like to emphasise how rare it is for an outsider to gain the trust of an ex-president of an outlaw motorcycle club. I hope you enjoy reading about my friend, Phil Ugly Mawson, boxer, soldier, biker. This is the ugly side of life.
Preface. More often than not, when you tell people you're a writer, they'll say something like, "Oh, I've got a great idea for a story." Unfortunately, and though it's rude to say so at the time, they rarely do. Most of the time, because we live in a society that demands politeness over honesty, you just nod and smile. But every now and then, someone comes to you with a story so good, you just have to write it down. Paul Fenech came to me with Philip Mawson's story in mid-2019. It was a tale of the founder of the Australian chapter of the Gypsy Jokers motorcycle club, a guy known affectionately to his friends as Ugly, though not for the reason you might think.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?